Okay, picture this. You open up your brokerage app on your phone, the screen refreshes, and boom, 7 figures. You literally just hit $1 million. Fireworks go off, right? The champagne pops. There's a private jet waiting on the runway. Well, what if I told you that in America today, that exact moment looks and feels absolutely nothing like the movies? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive right in and totally shatter that Hollywood illusion of what hitting $1 million actually looks like, how you really get there, and what it quietly costs you along the way.
So, take this real story of a guy named John. He spent 30 years aggressively saving, investing, and just grinding for this one specific moment. And when the number in his account finally ticked over that $1 million mark, he turned to his wife, and her actual response was, "Did you remember to move the chicken from the freezer?" I mean, you can't make this up. It was completely indistinguishable from every other unremarkable Tuesday. There was no champagne, no exclusive black cards sliding across a marble countertop. It was just two people in their 50s trying to figure out dinner. The milestone that a whole century of American culture told us was the absolute pinnacle of wealth. It has fundamentally changed.
So why exactly does hitting that magical million feel like an average Tuesday? Let's get into Section 1, the math behind the myth, and how we've moved the goalposts.
If you look at a recent Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey, the number that actually makes Americans feel wealthy today isn't $1 million anymore. It's $2.3 million. That is the new going rate on the fantasy. The modern American goalpost has totally moved, and it's actually more than double the number that John spent 30 years of his life chasing.
The brutal reality behind this massive shift is obviously inflation. $1 million today buys roughly what $514,000 bought back in the year 2000. And if you go way back to 1980, today's million has the purchasing power of just about $246,000 back then. So you know when your uncle talks about millionaires like they're literal royalty? He's remembering a time when $1 million could buy 4 times what it buys right now. The words stayed exactly the same, but the underlying math quietly changed.
Let's break down the actual mechanics of this and make it super practical. What does $1 million functionally do for you when you retire? Well, if you follow the classic 4% rule, the safe withdrawal rate so you don't run out of money over a 30-year retirement, you're taking 4% of your $1 million portfolio. That functionally generates $40,000 a year. That's a completely normal, budget-conscious, middle-class salary. It means you are absolutely still checking the total when you check out at the grocery store. It means deciding you can probably only visit the grandkids once this year instead of twice because flight prices went up.
And wait, it gets even tighter, because that $1 million isn't even completely yours to begin with. If your money is sitting in a traditional 401k, the government is essentially your silent business partner. They never attended a single meeting, but when you go to withdraw, they take their cut through federal and state taxes. They actually even force you to take money out through required minimum distributions just so they can tax it. On top of all that, an average 65-year-old couple retiring today is projected to spend an estimated $345,000 on healthcare alone. So that $1 million pie, yeah, it shrinks incredibly fast.
Which brings us to how people actually get there today. Section 2, the boring wealth strategy. Automate and wait.
Social media loves to sell you this idea that wealth is all about crazy high income, 4 a.m. ice baths, and taking massive sweeping risks. It really isn't. Just compare person A, who pulls in $250,000 a year, drives a premium luxury car, eats out constantly, and invests super inconsistently. Now look at person B. They make $90,000 a year, drive a reliable older car, but they automatically invest 20% of their income every single month for 15 years straight. Person B is almost always the one who actually hits that $1 million mark first. Wealth isn't about what you earn. It is the gap you meticulously protect between what you earn and what you spend.
Getting that gap to grow? Yeah, it's brutal at first. As the famous investor Charlie Munger said, the first $100,000 is a nightmare. You have to do all the heavy lifting yourself. Every single dollar is a massive sacrifice. It honestly feels like pushing a giant boulder up a steep hill with your bare hands. And this is exactly where most people quit, because they're pushing and feeling absolutely no momentum. But you have to get through it. You cannot quit while you are still pushing that boulder.
Because once you finally get past that initial grind, the math completely flips on you and compound interest takes the wheel. At a 7% average annual return, $100,000 hands you $7,000 a year without you touching a single thing. At $500,000, that jumps to $35,000, and at $1 million, your portfolio is generating $70,000 a year. That is literally more than the median American household income, and it's earned entirely while you sleep. The boulder is finally rolling down the other side of the hill for you.
So how do you actually build this? The playbook is highly realistic,
profoundly boring and undeniably effective. Research actually shows that 89% of millionaires are first generation. So how did they pull it off? Step 1, automate your 401k and dump it into boring index funds. Step 2, live below your means. Step 3, never panic sell during a market crash. And Step 4, wait 26 incredibly unsexy years. Interestingly, in a huge study of 10,000 millionaires, exactly 0 of them said picking individual stocks was their big secret. Honestly, sometimes the absolute best financial decisions you make are just the catastrophic mistakes you actively manage to avoid making. Things like lifestyle inflation, upgrading your entire life every single time you get a raise, or panic selling when the market takes a dive. Drowning in high-interest consumer debt is obviously a massive one. And frankly, repeatedly bailing out friends or family members who just refuse to learn financial responsibility. Avoiding these landmines is literally half the battle.
But as your net worth climbs, so does a sort of unseen weight. Let's look at Section 3, the hidden costs of wealth, specifically anxiety and relationships.
You'd logically think more money equals total peace of mind, right? Well, actually, behavioral finance reveals a pretty jarring truth. Anxiety often rises right alongside your net worth. Just think about it. If you have $40,000 invested and the market drops 20%, you lose $8,000. It stings, for sure, but you can recover. But a 20% drop on a $1.2 million portfolio? That is $240,000 completely wiped out in a single afternoon. More money doesn't always buy calm. Sometimes it just hands you a much bigger, scarier number to be absolutely terrified of losing.
And then there is the whole social toll. Money changes the people around you. There's this heartbreaking story from our source material of a friendship completely fracturing. Right in the middle of an argument, a friend looked at the newly wealthy individual and actually said, "I hope you're not thinking of leaving the area because we could really use your tax basis." Not, "Hey, I value our friendship." Just a cold, calculating look at their income. Wealth creates real social friction. It profoundly shifts relationship dynamics, and it can suddenly make your oldest relationships feel purely transactional.
Which drops us right into the ultimate psychological trap, moving goalposts. When you made $40,000, you thought $100,000 would be total, absolute freedom. Then you hit $100,000, and you immediately started looking at the guy making $250,000. The goalpost isn't actually sitting at the end of the field, it's practically glued to your forehead, and it moves every single time you do. I really want you to ask yourself, where are your goalposts right now? Because if that feeling of security isn't built internally, if you don't actively practice gratitude, no complex spreadsheet in the world will ever provide it for you.
So if the number itself doesn't magically cure the anxiety, we really have to redefine the prize here. Section 4, the quiet kind of freedom.
Let's quickly compare 2 neighbors. You've got John, who is an actual millionaire. He drives a perfectly fine 10-year-old Camry. His house is completely paid off, and his lawn is, perfectly average. 2 doors down is Todd. Todd has a brand new luxury German SUV, a massive boat he financed, and a pristine manicured lawn. Todd looks 10 times richer than John, but Todd is completely broke, drowning up to his neck in debt, and just 1 bad month away from losing the whole shebang. In America, looking rich and being rich are rarely the same thing. True wealth is what you don't see. It's the car you decided not to purchase, the upgrade you walked away from.
And that brings us to the core truth of this whole explainer. Hitting $1 million was never meant to be a giant fireworks show. It won't buy you a private island, and it definitely won't buy endless luxury. But what it does buy is an incredibly solid, paid-off existence. It buys the quiet, profound freedom of never lying awake at 3 a.m. doing terrifying financial math in your head. It buys you options. It literally buys you the ability to just breathe.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the ultimate goal isn't luxury, what does true quiet freedom actually look like for you? Think about what you are really chasing on this journey. Thank you so much for watching this explainer. If this shifted how you think about your own wealth building, please make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives. I'll catch you in the next one.